Hello, and welcome back to Password. So we're still here on pseudo day 23, hanging out, or I guess being Roswell. What a nightmare. Uh, anyway, it was quiet, though I could hear movement. Had the others started to arise already? Had something happened? Each step I made heading upstairs towards the foyer was made carefully, just in case. Appearing around the corner and where I'd emerged to check who was about, my breath caught in my chest briefly, and I pulled my head back. Look at this lad! Look at this boy! It's Dave. It was Dave, pacing back and forth, lost in thought. I was just watching him for a bit, wandering around without having noticed me yet. At some point, I figured I'd waited long enough and made myself known. Dave? Roswell? He quickly looked around for someone or something, and sighed in relief upon seeing whatever it was he was seeing. For a moment, I thought, well... Thought what? Thanatos, after yesterday. Oh. That right. I could see the expression he was giving me, somewhere in between suspicion and concern, but honestly, I had my own worries. Had he figured it out? Had Thanatos let something slip? With how often he'd been partnering up with Dave, I just had to trust he had things under control. Let me adjust the game audio slightly. It looks a little not loud, so we can do things, right? Are you feeling okay? Yeah, I'm feeling, well, better than I did yesterday, that's for sure. Do you know why? Shy of bed rest. It'd likely be something Oswin drugged me with. It said it'd take some time to kick in, but it should get me going. Wait, when did that happen? It seemed Thanatos was telling the truth. Dave was fine, but must have been out of it until this morning. When? I guess it'd have been sometime after you found me in the rec room. After he knocked me out, you mean? After he knocked us both out. You woke up sometime after that? Yeah, and to Oswin injecting me with something. He really needs to stop doing that. Given how much better I'm feeling by comparison, I think I'd be willing to give him a pass on it. So no Thanatos, and no idea why he did what he did. No Thanatos. Was Dave expecting to see Thanatos? Had nothing at all happened to him between what happened back then and now. Maybe keeping him unconscious was the way to go after all. At the very least, he couldn't do anything to put himself in danger. Roswell? Sorry, maybe that's the short answer, anyway. And the long answer? Do you remember much about what happened when you came to the rec room yesterday? I showed up, you had a medal, and said... It was a trap, yeah? I wandered over to the stairs and sat down, cradling my chin to try and puzzle out how Thanatos had thought guiding me there is in a drug-addled haze was a good idea. Admittedly, I don't really remember how I got to the rec room, just that I was kind of in a daze. I remember running, not turning. Would you turn yourself into Thanatos? Tell me in the comments, everyone. I remember running into Thanatos somewhere just outside my room, though, and he must have led me there. And the medal? That part I remember. He handed it over to me shortly after I collapsed into the beanbag. Alright, and the medal is where now? In my room, but when he handed it over, I remember him saying something like, "Now we just have to wait for the hyena to show up," and a few minutes later, you did. You knew it was a trap just from that? You tell me, Dave. I don't think throwing you a party upon your arrival was the plan. Yeah, you're probably right. Initially, I breathed a sigh of relief. If there was one constant I could plan around, it was how readily Dave was willing to let things go. Infuriating for any number of people for sure, but really convenient when the poor guy kept putting himself in harm's way. I didn't think the trap was going to be a literal sound trap, though. What does he get out of knocking us both out, though? And why was I out until this morning, but you were awake? But you were woken up. Yes, I'm getting there. Dave's cute in this. This is cute portrait. I couldn't tell you. Maybe because I was being medicated was why I woke up. Not that I was awake for long before sleeping again. It was something I have to bring up with Thanatos again. There wasn't a good reason why Dave would be unconscious for much longer than I did, unless he'd done something different to him. But given we were both in the room when the sound trap went off, I had no idea. Remind me to take a page out of Tyson's book when I see him again. Thanatos needs to stop being a jerk and knocking people out. Catch him off guard near an open window, and you might be able to enjoy a little bit of a defenestration. I'd probably be fine with throwing him out the window, if only once. I could feel my eyebrows go up, the faintest of smiles crossing my face. You know what that word means. Before coffee, even. You know what that. Okay. Yeah? He didn't seem convinced, almost confused somehow as to how he knew the word. Maybe he just got lucky. Maybe he had forgotten he knew, but he ended up just shrugging it off. So what happens now? I did have something I wanted to talk to you about, actually. Are you really fine with going into the woods later with Oswin? For the Dominic thing, I mean. Before I could reply, he shook his head, continuing within the brief pause he'd allowed himself to breathe. I know it makes sense for you to go. I know that it's all relative as far as it being fine too. What's your plan if something goes wrong? Being lucky isn't going to cut it. What's this coming from? Where's this all coming from all of a sudden? You're not normally so alert, or... It's important, Roswell. If... You must know, yeah. I was counting on my luck. I don't think anything else we can do really compares to what an organized crime family has as far as resources goes. I could see him go to speak up, but I shook my head, cutting him off in the same way he did to me. You'll have Benson and the others. You can make a plan for the worst, but there's no sense in worrying too much about it. Just have some faith, Dave. Faith? He repeated the word and shook his head, awkwardly standing there. Still rather than joining me and sitting on the chairs? Stairs. There's their chairs. Yes. Yeah, can I ask a favor? Sure. I feel that, with everything going on, it might be a good idea to keep tabs on Orlando. Alright, what about you, though? Me? What about me? What are you planning on doing between now and when you leave? Well, I suppose I should get a... contingency plan down. Talk to Sal and Tyson, too, while I think about it. How come? They'll likely be able to help Benson the most. Dean is the backup in case something goes wrong out in the woods. Rescue mission stuff. Alright. But can we get coffee? I haven't had any yet, and this is a lot to sit on while we wait for the others. We made coffee and sat down in the dining room, Dave lost in his own head and barely sipping his down while I gulped down the sugary brew. I needed to be alert and brain working at full capacity. This was a problem that had to have a solution after all. But less that, and more nervous about what Thanatos might find in his memories. Was what I'd seen, the glimpse of it, real? Did I need to stop Dave from entering the woods at all cost? I left when the others all started to file in, under the guise of needing to mentally prepare myself for later on. Though Dave's look told me he was suspicious. Something felt off about what was happening. Wrong, maybe different. It was worth consulting with Thanatos about it, or maybe checking in with Oswald about it just to see what he thought. Thanatos? He turned to me, my mid-bounce as he was jumping up and down on the bed. Oh! No, I want a CG of that, though. I want a cute little Thanatos jumping on the bed. What? What are you doing? Taking a break from searching my memories. How'd breakfast go? Fine. How did checking your memories go? Also fine. There were a few moments of silence before he resumed jumping, as if that was going to answer my question. So? So what? I checked it. What did you want to know? Are we going to be running into any problems? You know, saving Dave. Oh, I don't know. Probably. What do you mean? That was the point of me asking you to run that search. Hey, don't get snippy with me. You just weren't specific enough. Now, if you were to ask nicely... Thanatos, if Dave dies because you neglected to tell me what's about to happen... He won't. Calm down. We just need to... do something. That something being... Here's the plan. You're going to go into the woods with dearest Uncle... Right. I groaned, palming my face and giving him a lazy nod. Perfect. How about we don't do that, and we make someone else go instead? And how exactly is that stopping Dave from dying? Beats me. But if you're around, then there's an extra set of eyes. Besides, the worst case scenario is that something happens, we get a do-over. The point is, we shouldn't need a do-over if you've already seen all of this happen before. Okay, but how are you going into the woods keeping you safe? But how is you going on keeping you? It's not. That's why I volunteered. I'm going to die anyway. There's no stopping that from happening, mind you. So I should wear the risk. But then what about me? Why didn't I get a say in this? You do, but you were the one that carried that message through time and space to me, and about me wanting my friends alive. Then I asked you to save them. We are saving them. Sorta. Well, it's becoming increasingly hard to believe that when the way to keep most of them alive means murdering one or more of them. Collapsing on the bed, Thanatos still merrily bouncing on the spot on the bed that he'd chosen. So the plan is to what? Knock me out? Well, if that's going to work, then sure. All it'll take is me swiping an injector from the lab and jabbing you when no one's looking. Well, we're going to need to hold off just a little bit. I've already spoken to Dave and thrown him at Orlando to keep him out of our way. Meaning? I also said that I was going to talk to Sal and Tyson about contingencies for when I head into the woods. I should at least do that before you go doing anything, so my story stays straight. Fine. I imagine Oswald is going to be in his lab for a little bit longer anyway. So, I'll need to wait until he's sleeping. Alright, that sounds like a plan. Thanks, Thanatos. You're welcome. I'll run another search on Dave just in case. But if all goes well, I imagine Oswald is going to take Dean with him. You know you said he knows how to navigate the woods, right? As well as anyone could, I guess. At no point in my memories he's been revealed to be on the ground level, so, you know. I could have told you that. You never know. It could have been a long con. No offense to Dean, but he's not exactly organized crime material. That's so rude. Dean is a good boy. A good boys can be good at organized crime. Yeah, well, if anything goes wrong to his body, he's still the best candidate to fix me. So we need him. I didn't mean that he was dumb, just homely. Anyway, I'll be back later. I'm going to talk to Sal. When I go to the conservatory again, I realize just how careless I'd been, the passage still being wide open from when I'd taken it before. Thankfully, it didn't seem to be a problem for much longer. Ah, good morning, Roswell. Oswald said he'd spoken to you already. Yeah, He shook his head, standing aside from the passage, as if assuming I was going to be taking it. He was right, though, and I stepped forward and started to cross the threshold into the dark. Before you go, I had something I wish to say. Oh? It may not register to you, or perhaps you do not care, but I see Oswald as my son. You've told me this before. And it warrants saying again. I implore you, do not go hurting my boy. I won't. Look at that death stare. This lad's gonna kick Roswell in the snoot. His hand quickly found my shoulder, and I was spun around to face him. See to it that you don't. This is not a threat, though I am not above threatening someone that poses a danger to my family. I gave him a funny look, eyes flickering to the door before dropping my voice down to a whisper. Am I included on that list of family? He straightened, eyes also going to the door before settling down on mine as he went to the bookshelf. Including you, Roswell. Now hurry along. I suspect you have places to be. I'd barely cleared the threshold of the passage before he'd closed it shut behind me. Just as well, given it was probably for the best people didn't start asking who was going where. Though Benson or Oswin was a convenient excuse, with people too eager for Dominic's return, chances are the run of the house was all mine. As I passed the laboratory, I found the door open and stuck my head inside. No Oswin, for what I could see, though the first step inside was a mistake. Got you. Hey, put me down. He grabbed me suddenly and lifted me off the ground. That's adorable. Though it didn't last for... It didn't last from how I immediately tried to pry myself away, even without me doing anything. The strain in his face told me he couldn't keep it up. You've grown a fair bit. You're calling me heavy. Am not. I'm also going to add that you're really unfit for someone who has a gym in his house. No, he's about as fit as someone who has a gym in his house. People buy gym equipment, and then they'll never use it. Isn't that the stereotype? Mind your manners, boy. I am. You were the one that decided to lift me off the ground without any warning. Once upon a time, you loved having me pick you up. We'd go walk around the huge maze,
have a look at the greenhouse, sit by the pool.
Why are you choosing to reminisce now? He looked away slowly, taking longer than he should have to reply.
I am taking what chance I can.
Meaning?
We both know you're on borrowed time. On top of that, what's to happen later is very dangerous for us both.
Tell me about it. Thanatos was already suggesting that I don't go in with you.
I'd be alright with that, if I had my way.
Really? Even knowing it's the right choice?
Sometimes, it's not about the right choice. Sometimes, there is no right choice.
No, send Orlando, send him to die, it's fine. Why do I get the feeling you're not being, obtuse for fun?
Roswell, surely you can't be as blind to what's going around you as you're pretending to be.
Wait, did I say that right? Roswell, surely you can't be as blind to what's going around you. What's going around you?
As you're pretending to be.
I'm not blind. I'm not deaf either.
Then prove it. What is it that I'm referring to?
It could be many things, if I had to guess. Okay, I'm going to end the part here. So I will see you around, everyone.